Hello, and thank you for stopping by the Massachusetts Beer Review channel of YouTube. I'm Thomas Metal 75. This is your Massachusetts Beer Reviews discussions on the highly super premium beer here, Molson XXX. No, this isn't porn beer. We got with us today, I got with us today from Zone-1 Beer Reviews up in Indiana, Mr. John Sharon. And you can check him out at the link below to his Zone-1 Beer Review channels. And I guess I'll have to make another specialty link here now that I think about it when the video is over for the Ronald the Riot page of YouTube. He hosts he does a bunch of beer reviews, as you probably all know. And we're both a part of his Wednesday night beer review. So this is this little offshoot of our Wednesday night examinations. Now, this beer doesn't, to me, have a whole, I don't know what you found, John, but this beer to me doesn't have a whole bunch of information on the internet. The MillerCoors.com website and the MolsonCoors.com website pretty much say the same thing, which is Molson XXX is a unique super premium beer that combines 7.3% ABV with the characteristic cold, crisp, and clean finish that people have come to expect from the Molson Brew Masters. MolsonCoors.com says it's, besides it being 7.3 alcohol by volume, they say per a 12-ounce serving, and this is a 24 fluid ounce can, but per 12 ounces, it's 212 calories.
I didn't, actually, I've drank this beer numerous times, and it's one I keep going back to for some reason. But there's just not a whole lot out there on the interweb about this beer.
No, and from what I'm understanding, even if I try to look up where I can find the beer on the Molson Coors website, you can try to search for where the beer is in your area, and it seems to me that this is a product for. This is, I mean, they have it up in Canada, but actually it seems to be in the northern part of the United States. So most of New England and some of the Indiana area and Wisconsin and maybe even Minnesota might actually have this beer.
Like I said, I live in we've got a lot of package stores here in Clark County, and there's only one package store that sells the 24-ounce can, and it sells the 12-ounce bottles in 6
packs. They also do have 12-ounce bottles, and they come in 6 and 12 packs as well.
The only thing the only thing we can catch it in is we can buy a 12-ounce single or a 6-pack of 12-ounce bottles, and that's it. So
now the only other information I can give you is BeerAdvocate.com. They have a commercial description that says it must have been on a Coors website at some, or Molson website at some point. They say, brewed to be our strongest tasting lager using extra malt and hops in the brew house and fermented to give a smooth, slightly sweet, well-balanced beer at 7.3% alcohol by volume. The Bros are giving it a 56. Beer Advocate gives it a 61, so the Bros think it's awful, and our friends at Rate Beer are giving the beer a 5 overall as a beer style and a 61 out of 100 in the malt liquor style, and they recommend a lager glass, a shaker glass, or a paper bag for this one. The only glass they say to use a paper bag for, even if that's a glass, is malt liquor style. But anyways, let's get to the actual beer style itself. When I poured it from the can, it glugged out and created this giant head.
I got a little bit of a head, but it dissipated pretty quick.
Mine was a very aggressive style pour.
But I got a lot of, it pours golden, crisp color, a lot of carbonation. I don't see any settlement in it. So
no, it's fairly filtered. It's got that. To me, a malt liquor, the American style kind, and maybe Canada if they have those kind of beers too. They seem to have just a slightly darker golden color, and that's exactly what I'm getting. It's not in the light, it's a little bit more golden yellow. In the out of the light, it's a little bit more of that copperish tan kind of looking color.
It's a lot more darker than your average 4 to 5%.
Yeah, it's definitely darker than Molson for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess Molson Coors just became or Miller Coors just became Molson Coors, so I guess they're like now the 7th biggest brewery in the world or some conglomerate or something like that. So I guess cheers to those people. Yeah.
I mean, I think that happened a year or two ago, maybe.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
But
yeah, the cool
I guess they're going to be. I guess it's all going to be a conglomerate of InBev now. So
one of these days, yep. They believe Molson XXX will be one of your favorite premium beers. Yeah, they say on it actually. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Ale in Texas. Now they got some weird laws about what's beer and what's not beer.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Now what does yours say?
Mine says.
Yeah, mine says the same thing. Ale in Texas too.
Yeah, mine says ale in Texas, and this one, which is kind of why I think we're guessing that this is primarily a beer for the American market. They say it is brewed and packaged under the supervision of Molson Coors Canada, Ontario, or Canada, Canada, Toronto, Canada. Let me get that out. By Molson USA, Golden, Colorado. Union-made product of the USA. This must be made in the Coors facility in Golden, Colorado, I'm guessing.
But, I mean, when I first walked into this package store and I seen this can, I mean, this can, I was actually in there looking for craft beer, but this can stuck out so much that I thought, I have to buy this beer because the can is such a super, super looking can.
I get it for under $3. It's like $2.45 or something like that.
I give $2.99 for it, so
not really too bad. And to me, actually, if I go on to the smell, because this is supposed to be a beer review, right? Yeah. If I go on to the smell, I almost don't even get any. I mean, I can't say I don't get anything, but it has that same. I don't think they use. I'm going to assume they don't use rice, but they don't tell us. It has that clean. As a clean, crisp kind of a smell. You mean you do get some sweetness and you do get some graininess, but to me it's pretty clean and unoffensive, kind of like the Molson Canadian.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not getting any of the rice smell out of it. I get a lot.
Yeah, and Jay was telling us the other day, that must have been when we did our Michelob Ultra review, that he was reading somewhere from the Miller company that they try, at least Miller does, they try to brew these beers where they don't have any scent or aroma of that corn or that adjunct, and if they do, there's supposedly something wrong with it. So as far as the smell is concerned, I'm not getting much of it. And here's Jay.
Here's Jay right here. But I mean, I'm getting a sweet smell out of it. It smells sweet. Nothing really unoffensive over this.
Yeah.
Mr. Terrio, how you doing today?
Hello. I am a ghost.
You're in the dock.
I am a ghost. A ghost of beer reviewing.
I thought you'd go to the ball game.
I started feeling too sleepy.
Really?
No.
Hey,
this will wake you up. This Molson XXX will wake you up.
Yeah, that'll wake me up all right when I see those blue cop lights. I woke up this morning at 3:17 and I was going to go to the game, and I said, well, let me call my father. And he was like, I don't feel like going. It's too cold outside. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch this hang out, and heck, I'll join it.
Sweet. Appreciate it, sir. Awesome.
I should say I'll crash it.
You're not crashing nothing, buddy. I'm glad you come. You're always
nobody else is showing up, so thank you.
But you've had this beer, Jay.
Yeah, that's why I joined. If I had never had the beer, I wouldn't have dreamed of joining. Yes, I had this beer quite a few times now, and I'm not going to say a lot tonight. I want to watch y'all talk because
okay. Go ahead.
When I was on a road trip in New Jersey in 2013, okay, I was with my stepmother, and I dropped her off from Virginia, and she was visiting somebody, and then I was driving through New Jersey and on my way to Fenway Park, by the way, and they had this liquor store, and I think it was like around Princeton, New Jersey, you know where the university is. And so I went in there and I saw that big can. It's like a 25.4-ounce can, I think. John.
There's 24 on mine.
These are 24 is what ours are.
24.
That might be the Foster's can you're thinking of.
No,
But anyways, go on.
no, wait. Your cans are skinny. Mine was fat. Mine was fat like a Foster's can. Okay.
Yeah, I think they used to sell them like that. I noticed them. They're really these tall ones now.
Yeah, but mine said made in Toronto. Okay, so I don't collect foreign beer cans and bottles. I have to have some limit, right? So
John and I actually have one that says Union Made in the USA.
okay, that's what I'm getting to. So I bought that XXX, and it was very good, and I did a review of it, the can version. One of the best malt liquors I've ever had, personally. Now, 7.3%. Then last year I went to New York City, and I was hanging around up there, and I went to this liquor store in New Jersey, and they had a 6-pack of bottles, 12-ounce bottles. And I said, well, I've had this stuff before, but I would like to try the bottle version. So I bought it. I looked at it, and it said made in USA, product of USA. I said, heck, I got to buy it now. So I brought it, and when I was in the Bronx, that guy Sharif Mansour, who watches a lot of our videos, I said, Sharif, you want to try this Molson XXX? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So we did a video together at the hotel drinking the Molson XXX, and he was very impressed with it. It is a very interesting beer, and I'm going to go back and let y'all talk. I'm going to do some research while y'all talk and try to find out when this beer came out, and I'm going to go.
Awesome, yeah, because I couldn't find much of that information. But I was wondering what your thoughts and opinions are so far going into this beer, John Sharon.
Well, you know, I find nothing unoffensive about this beer. I mean, for 7.3% a beer, I mean, it's very good. I mean, it's above the Molson Golden, I guess, is what we've talked about. It's above a regular light beer or regular beer. For me, I mean, I've gone back to this beer more than one time. I've had it like several times because I enjoy it. I mean, the can is just so spectacular. But, I mean, the taste and the smell of this beer, I mean, for a malt liquor, I guess that's what we're calling this beer. It's a malt liquor.
Yeah.
Super premium beer. I mean, this is probably one of the best malt liquors I've had. Probably next to St. Ides. I really enjoy St. Ides, but if I had to choose between the two, I would probably go with the Molson XXX, just because, I mean, it's just it's sweet. It's not over grainy. It's not over cornish. It's just a great premium 7.3% beer.
I can agree with a lot of the points that you said entirely. I'm getting the sense. I'm getting the sense. I'm getting the sensation. Although it's not burning, it's not a hot kind of a heat. It doesn't bother the throat or the palate. But I am noticing, like you said, if there is a good amount of, there is a a sweetness to that, to the beer. I'm noticing. I guess what I'm trying to say here is I'm noticing a little bit of that 7.3 higher alcohol percentage. But like I stated a little bit earlier, a couple seconds ago, it's not a burning. It doesn't burn the throat. It doesn't. It's not really tremendously warming. You can tell that it's not your standard Molson Canadian, and I would probably guess you could tell if we were able to get this stuff called Molson Cold Shots. Molson Canadian Cold Shots is 6% alcohol by volume, so I got to imagine that this tastes a little bit stronger, and I do feel like it's a little bit stronger, but I would still say that the alcohol presence is very, very minimal, but it is a presence I detect in the flavor, and I do get a light, like maybe it's more like a higher side of a light-bodied beer, but I'd say this is going down with tremendous ease. It does have a little bit of that sweet corn sort of a flavor, but I don't think it's too over the top for at least it being a malt liquor. It kind of reminds me almost of Old English 800, not the high gravity stuff, because I don't recall ever trying that.
Yeah. But yeah, and I agree with you. It does kind of taste like an old English, but I mean, for me overall, I mean this is a beer that a lot of people is not going to communicate with. This is a beer that a lot of people is going to go, oh God, why
Yeah.
they? But overall to me, this is an enjoyable beer. I don't think you can session a lot of these beers at 7.2, but I mean the beer pours crisp, clean. It's a medium-bodied beer, I think. There's not a you can definitely taste the alcohol in this beer at 7.3 more than you can a lot of other malt liquors. But I really enjoy this.
Beer Advocate. I don't. In my personal beer reviews, I don't use Beer Advocate a whole lot when I talk about a beer that I'm currently reviewing, that I'm currently looking at the time of trying the beer. But across the board, and it could be a number of factors. It could be that Molson is a giant brewery, and they mass produce their beers, and they primarily make lager style beers. And since this is a malt liquor, all those things combined, I think to the general beer drinking community public, and the public in general, they're probably not going to really give this beer much praise or anything really to write home about. And as much as that's the case, and as much as I liked, and the both of us really like to really look at a beer for what it is, stylistically and as a beer overall, I don't think any of us are gonna sit here and say that this is like the most amazing kind of a beer you could possibly buy, but it's most certainly. I think most certainly you could do a lot worse than a beer like this, and I understand the animosity towards a beer like this, where it just tastes like a sweeter version of an adjunct lager, which people don't seem to really like these days, because everybody in the craft beer community that rates a beer like this, I think, already has a preconceived notion that they don't already like this style, so they're already going to be able to give it a really bad rating and a bad review. And basically, Beer Advocate's leaving this beer at it's just a beer for Canadian hockey fans to go get drunk with, and it's a sad beer at that. So if you look at it that way, you're going to not find very much to talk about. If you look at it objectively as a beer drinker, or objectively as a American-style light lager drinker kind of a person, or as a person in the 40-ounce beer community, you might end up liking the beer. But again, it doesn't really have much to write home about, but it's a nicer, almost imperial kind of a lager beer. I mean, I guess malt liquors and imperial lagers aren't really that far off, really.
Yeah.
Eric, when Sharif tried that beer in the Bronx with me last year, he was so impressed. Like, okay, this guy, he knew nothing about this beer, right?
Yeah.
So he's like real fair-minded. So he wasn't going into it with like a chip on his shoulder. He just said, "Yeah, let's try it." So we twisted the cap and we tried it. He said it's interesting to watch his video, because he like really discovered some flavors in it, and I think this beer does have some, I'll say, richness to it, smoothness, and it has character. And you talk about regular beers. In the regular beer world, one of the style that could help really rescue that movement, if you want to call it a movement, because you and I and John are not really part of a movement.
No.
We're not on a quest. I talked about that in my Bud Ice video. You watched it.
That's a good video.
I said we're not on a quest.
Mm-mm.
This is not some quest, unless you want to say drinking beer is some kind of quest. But the thing that could help save American-style beers is these strong lagers, because they have character that can kind of, I don't say compete with craft beer, but can stand up to it. Like some of the regular beers are so dull and flat in their flavor, but the malt liquors have a richness that a lot of your regular beers don't have. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, entirely. That makes a lot of sense. That it does. I'm sort of thinking about your statements there. It sort of makes sense. It does make sense. I should put it that way. It does make sense that you would say that a lot of people don't like light lagers and don't like American style pale or lager beers because they don't have a lot of richness. They don't have a lot of character to it. So you would think that with that logic in mind, that maybe more people would like a beer like this and would like a more of an imperial kind of a lager or a malt liquor beer. But I think a lot of I think for a couple of reasons, people may not like a beer like this. I mean, it doesn't taste like the most gourmet thing in the world. I understand that. It definitely overall has to me, it has a very sweet taste and a palate to it, which may turn some people off from it. And then again, I might have mentioned it already. There's sort of a public perception of malt liquors and beers like this, that it's it's what the homeless drink, it's what poor people drink, and if that's what poor people drink, all they can afford, well, why can't I do better? But
Yeah.
I don't really think in this style, besides maybe to me at least, to me I would probably prefer Old English 800, the standard version over this, but to me this is pretty good and this is fine. The only complaint I really have with this beer is it's just an overall sweet sort of a bodied and taste to the beer, but other than that, for the price that you pay for one of these tall cans, you really could do a lot worse on the American beer market than this.
Now, on the Molson Coors website, they have a profile of the beer that you're drinking. And I don't know if you'll agree with what they're saying. They say it's a unique super premium beer that combines 7.3% alcohol with the characteristic cold, crisp, and clean finish that people have come to expect from Molson brewmasters. But it doesn't seem like you're getting that.
I don't know what John thinks about that, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's got the cleanest finish of any beer, of any
But
lager I've had.
the longer I'm sitting here thinking about this Molson beer, and the more I'm sitting here drinking this beer, as it kind of warms up a little bit. I don't know if anybody's had regular hams.
Yes.
But this is almost like a super premium regular hams.
Huh. Very interesting.
Think about that a little bit.
The hams I never have had is the ham special light. I have had the hams genuine gold.
Never had it anymore. But this is almost like this almost tastes like a hopped up version of a Hams beer. I mean, I've had Hams numerous times. Not ashamed to say it, but it's got that back end taste. You get that back taste of a Hams.
I don't know if you have I don't know if you know this information, Jay, but is this beer? Do you know if this beer? Because it seems to me like it would be. Do you know if this beer is primarily sold for the American market, or do they have this thing up in Canada? Because I can't really find much information that Canadians really get this beer and really do drink this beer.
I think in Canada it's called something different.
Because I did notice the Albino Rhino does have a beer review of this, but I'm not really sure where he bought that.
Oh, by the way, they're still showing Batch 19 as being, their website is still up, but I don't know about Batch 19. Batch 19,
a long time.
I think that beer could be. But anyway, I'm looking at this new Molson Coors website. It's so fascinating. It's like really extensive. But I think in Canada it's called Molson. I think it has a different name, but it's the same beer. And the XXX means triple export, and that has something to do with some kind of legal setup with beers that are exported to other countries. So I think it was called that because of some kind of export to the U.S. But now it doesn't mean anything because it's produced in the U.S. since Molson and Coors merged. And then, they recently bought out Miller.
Right.
Completely. So
I don't know if you was in the front end of this, but there's only one package store where I live amongst numerous package stores you can get this beer at. So,
well, we can't get it at all. We only get Molson Canadian down in the South.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up actually, because some of the folks that are involved in the Louisiana Beer Reviews Wednesday night examinations, I did ask a number of those folks if they wanted to join this review or if they could find even this beer, and most folks are saying the same thing as Jay, where they can get the Molson Canadian, but beyond that, they don't have any other access to any other Molson XXX or any of the other Molson products. So I'm wondering if this Molson XXX is primarily up in the northern region of the United States and into just New England. I'm wondering if that's really where their primary target audience is for this beer.
I think the furthest south I've ever seen it is New Jersey, and that's not exactly far south. So
we can get it in Indiana.
Yeah, you're north of the Ohio River, so that could be the cutoff, north of the Ohio River and the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, most stores that I go into will actually have this, so I almost never have an issue if I ever wanted to pick this thing up. Although I typically see these 24-ounce cans well before I see a 6 or 12 pack of 12-ounce can or bottles.
And they don't have those. That big can I had, it might have been a 32-ounce, but I'm pretty sure it was 25.4 ounce.
I do recall them making that at one point. That was the first really giant can of beer I've ever seen like that. I think they must have had that. I don't know how long Foster's was in that can before this one, but this is the first beer I remember being in that huge can after I turned 21 going, what is this? This looks dangerous. It says XXX on it. I shouldn't be drinking this, right? I guess not.
I think it's been out for over 10 years. And let me say this. If I go to Florida or west to Texas, I can get the Molson Golden. And this one might be sold at this time in those states too. I don't know. You don't know. I don't know what they're expanding. I'm just telling you, in the past, I've gotten the Molson Golden in Texas, and of course the Canadian. And I'm going to tell you right now, Molson Canadian is not popular around the New Orleans area. There's a few stores that sell it, and I don't think too many people buy it, frankly.
Molson around where I live is pretty popular. I mean, we get the ice and a lot of the Molson Golden and a lot of the Molson beers around here. So.
Yeah, the ice. That's one I've seen up there around New York City, but not around here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very popular with the not so much the Boston Bruins hockey team, but it's very popular within the Molson brand in general. Is very popular within the NHL. I think Molson Canadian itself that we looked at with Jay at one of these Wednesday reviews examinations is the official beer Molson Canadian, the official beer of the NHL. So they go crazy over that stuff.
Yeah.
And Jeff Lyons, who I wish would do hangouts with us, but he did one recently, yesterday I think it was yesterday with Tom, the beer whisperer. But he always talking about Molson Brador, which was an old time 1960s malt liquor, which is around 6%. But I don't think that's really made. I don't think that's made anymore. I think the XXX kind of replaced it.
Yeah, in Canada, I mentioned this earlier to John. In Canada, you probably know that. In Canada, you can get a Molson Canadian's, I think it's called Cold Shots, which is a 6% version of the Molson Canadian.
Yeah,
that's probably the closest you can get to that beer.
Yeah, and you can get a 6% Budweiser up there called Budweiser. What's the name of that Budweiser? I showed it. It comes in.
Oh, I forget. That sounds familiar. Yeah.
I put it on my Facebook gallery called The Wacky World of Budweiser. But yeah, it's some kind of oddball Budweiser malt liquor that you can't get.
Interesting.
You can only get it in Canada.
I'm trying to think about this beer. Go ahead.
Canada seems to have a whole lot of higher IBV beers and malt liquors than what we have down here, right?
Seems to be, and then you go to Great Britain and they have a lot of weaker beers. But
Yep.
Man, this, I'm telling you right now, I could get on the, if I could get a hold of every beer that Molson Coors makes, I could spend the next 10 years of Louisiana Beer Reviews doing that. It is unbelievable. It is unreal what I'm looking at on this website.
I got a lot of people asking me to do a Molson Ice, so I guess I'm gonna do a Molson Ice video.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd watch it. I'd watch it.
I don't. I think I can probably get. I would think most stores, in most regular kind of beer stores, I should be able to get a lot of those Molson products. I would think Molson Ice is probably convenient enough to get. I would think. But the whole New England region's got most of the Molson products that's in America. Most of the Labatt products.
Yeah.
Most of the only one that's in United States, as far as I know, is Moosehead, just the Moosehead green bottle lager.
Oh, well, that one does okay around here, I think.
I would really like.
I would definitely out of your standard old Canadian beer products that we can get in the United States, I would definitely say my favorite so far has been the Moosehead lager.
I like to try the Moosehead Light, but we don't get Moosehead Light around here.
But I guess every now and then.
Oh no, we can't get that.
I guess every now and then, I don't know if I would want to continuously buy this all the time, or if I would, I certainly wouldn't go out of my way for something like this, but I don't know if I would continuously buy something like this, or if I would seek this out on a regular basis. But every now and then, Molson XXX is an okay kind of a beer, and since this is my beer review channel, and I have not reviewed the beer on my personal channel, I'm going to give this, I guess I'll give this, I could see giving it a 78 out of 100, that C plus to about a B minus range. My main, I wouldn't even really call it a gripe, but my main complaint with the beer is it's definitely has it's not, I wouldn't say it's cloying sweetness, but it definitely has an overall sweet taste on the palate, and I don't know if you can even brew maybe you're able to do that. I don't know if you can even brew a beer in a malt liquor kind of a style that doesn't have that primarily sweet taste at this alcohol percentage level.
Because the grains are so concentrated, so it's hard to make it dry and still be strong. But
what I did mention before you showed up, Jay, was the fact that you were reading something from the Miller Brewing Company that said if you have that aroma of the corn or the adjunct that's in the beer, then there's something wrong with that beer. And I'm not really noticing. I think John probably would agree with that. I don't notice. I mean, maybe very faintly, but I don't notice an overriding adjunct kind of a rice or a corn smell in this beer at all, which is
that was from Moosehead's Beer Academy. As soon as Maria and myself shut off the video, I found it. Moosehead Beer Academy had an article called "Why Use Adjuncts," and it's real detailed, and they were saying if you taste corn or rice, then the process wasn't done correctly. Because
exactly.
They are not.
It tastes more corn and maybe it's corn syrup. I'm gonna guess corn syrup by the way it tastes. It's definitely more sweetened corn syrup forward than any of the smell would let on. So I'm gonna give that a 78 overall on my beer review channel here, and I would occasionally go back to this beer. My first introduction to this beer, oddly enough, was in a 12-ounce bottle at a bowling alley. I saw it after I turned 21, and it just says, I heard of the beer. I heard of what I was starting to hear what malt liquor was, because when you turn 21, especially in my generation, the new millennial generation, you hear the term malt liquor and you're 21, you go, oh well, that's going to get you where you need to go. I got to try that beer immediately, and it was pretty good for what it was, but if I want to be at the bowling alley all night, I would not be picking Molson XXX.
I would score it an A minus, but you know how I am. Oh, get this. Keep your eyes out for a new beer called Coors Peak, 4.7% alcohol.
Okay.
Made with only rice.
Interesting.
made with brown rice. You know, so it could be gluten free. I don't know what John would score XXX, but I bet it would be pretty high.
Good question. What are you thinking, John?
I'm actually, you know, I've had this beer numerous times. I've gone back to it because it's $2.99 for a 24-ounce can. I'm gonna give this beer pretty much an A. I mean, I'm a lager guy. I'm a light beer guy. I think this is a premium lager type light beer. But yeah, I mean, overall, this beer's not bad. I mean, it's got a medium mouthfeel. The back end's not dry. I mean, you can actually taste the alcohol in it. But overall, I mean, it's an enjoyable beer.
And as far as my rating is concerned, giving it that borderline B minus, a high C plus, I started to think about it in 3 different ways when it comes to these beer styles, and maybe I could even bump it up to an 80 if I think about it this way.
You gotta review it the way you see it, not.
Yeah, I like to look at these. I like to look in my mind. I like to look at a beer when I review it and give it a rating in 3 different ways. I like to look at the beer. Do I like the beer? Do I enjoy the beer? Is it good in its style? Is it a good beer in its style? How does it perform in the style? And I will also take into account the price when it comes to beer. So actually, if I look at this beer as it being a $2.49 in my area, a $2.49 24-ounce can of beer, for the way that it tastes and the way that it performs as a malt liquor, I would probably bump this thing up to a B minus definitively and give it an 80. So I'm going to end that with a B minus and an 80 out of 100. Actually, it's a fantastic value for 7.3%, and it doesn't have any real. Besides, maybe some people wouldn't like the sweet, corny kind of a flavor, but if you're a person that doesn't mind the taste of malt liquor and you like a richer, bolder tasting American kind of lager beer, you might really enjoy this brew, I would say. So I'm going to give it a B minus. And Jonathan Walker will join us right now. Hello, Jonathan Walker.
Hey.
I agree a whole lot with you on this beer.
I just got home from the gym and beer brats.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, this is
I agree a whole lot with you, Eric, on this beer. I mean, for a Molson XXX, which is, you know, Jonathan kind of got me off. He kind of threw me off here a little bit.
Sorry about that.
But you know, I think it's a good beer. I don't think you can go wrong with it. I mean, a lot of people's not going to like this beer. A lot of people's going to go, like I said earlier, oh, God, they're doing one of these freaking beers like this. But, you know, I mean, judge your beer for what it is.
Yep.
Like it for what it is. I mean, it's a Molson Canada beer.
Here's your first clue. Judge it for what it is. It's Molson. Hello.
And it's a XXX beer. I mean, how could you go wrong? But it's a malt liquor. I mean, this is a good beer. Overall, I mean, I'm going to score an A.
Yeah. Thinking about this beer, if you watch this beer review of mine with all of our wonderful guests and panelists, and then you watch my latest beer review before this one that I posted of Heady Topper beer, it is night and day from the Heady Topper beer, and I don't think that I don't know this for a fact, but I can almost guarantee you that they're not trying to make anything that's going to try to revolutionize a craft beer drinker or revolutionize the thought process of everybody else's kind of a craftier style beer. They're trying to make a really good beer at a really affordable price, and if you can't understand where its places in the market, you're totally missing the mark on this beer. So according to all that logic, that's how I derive my 80 out of 100 rating on this beer.
Yeah, I'm looking at a mistake right here on the Molson Coors website because they're saying right here that Molson XXX is only sold in Canada. Well, obviously that's not true.
No.
If you're a Budweiser drinker, a Miller High Life drinker, or one of those drinkers like that, I mean, And if you got access to Molson XXX, try it because I'm gonna guarantee you, you're gonna put that beer above those two beers right there.
So again, I would buy this occasionally. Every so often, I might pick this beer up for a nice change of pace. John Sharon would definitely buy this beer again, as he has done.
Yeah, I bought it several occasions.
Jay likes this beer and has had it more than once, I assume, correct?
Yeah, I drank. I shared one bottle or two bottles with Sharif, and then I drank the rest of the 6-pack, and then I had the big fat can. Now, Jonathan Walker, I want to ask you this question: can you get Molson XXX in Virginia?
Not in Richmond. You can't. They tried it a few years ago, right when I turned 21, but I never really got it. Never saw it on the shelf again. Apparently, according to Eric, you can get it in Northern Virginia. When I go to Baltimore, I can get it. And that's where I had it. I had it like 3 years ago.
You said Baltimore?
And I remember thinking it wasn't bad. Yeah, Baltimore. I can get a lot of stuff in Baltimore.
It wasn't bad.
Can you see me?
Yes, we got you. I heard you say it wasn't. You didn't remember it being too bad.
No, it was. It didn't stand out to me. But
Right.
It wasn't bad.
But I'm sure if you could get this beer in your area, you would have and would have enjoyed trying it.
Yeah, I would have.
To me, this is the beer that I really enjoyed it. And, you know, this is the beer that's going to stand out to me. I bought it more than once. I'm going to buy it again. And I enjoy it. This is a beer you take to a party, and everybody goes, what you got?
Yeah, to people that are my friends, I think they would look at this. I don't know if this is going to be the J. Terrio way of looking at beer, but I think a lot of people would if I brought this a couple of cans or even a 12-pack to a party, people would look at me strange, like why the hell are you drinking that beer? But you know, as the hours go on and as the various adult drinking games go on, people would say, you know what, I want that higher ABV beer. Come on, bring it. People would end up actually saying that stuff. I know that might be a little dangerous if these people somehow drove to the party, but I think people would like a little bit bigger of a beer in a partier type situation. So I think this could be, you know, if you like again, before I end this review here, I think if you like a little bit richer tasting beer and you like your adjunct lagers, give this one a try. If you want a different beer to bring to a party, a camp out, a cookout, a campfire, this could be one to try. That's how I'll end that, definitely. Any last closing thoughts?
I agree 100% with you, Eric. I mean, this is a beer that, I mean, if you like adjunct lagers and you're an adjunct lager fan, but you want something to step up to, Molson XXX is the beer you go to. Because, you know, I mean, you're looking, you swipe the 5.2% Budweiser or whatever it is, and you're going up to 7.3 and a Molson. If you can get it, because there's a lot of people that just can't get this beer. And there's not a whole lot of YouTubers out there doing this beer.
Absolutely not.
Most people I know, if I brought it to a party, they would think I was trying to be fancy. Because they don't know much about, huh?
Well, yeah, my fancy beer, the fancy beer in my area, well, since I live in New England and I'm right on the border of Rhode Island, everybody drinks this beer called Narragansett Lager, because you can go to any bar in Massachusetts or New England almost, and any concert venue in Rhode Island, you get a 16-ounce can of, I think it's 5% Narragansett Lager for like $2. So that's usually when you go to Rhode Island, that is the house beer entirely. I guess if you go to an NHL game, then Molson Canadian will, in effect, become the house beer.
But, you know, I really enjoy the Molson beers. I've had a bunch of them, and I really enjoy them.
I had some of that Narragansett, and I had the Narragansett cream ale, but I wasn't super thrilled with it, to tell you the truth. But
Sometimes prices of beer alone will dictate if somebody buys a certain kind of a beer, because I don't really know that. I mean, everybody drinks it in southern Massachusetts and in Rhode Island, but I don't know that anybody would ever say, if I asked you what your favorite beer was, I don't think anybody that I'm friends with in Rhode Island would say, oh, my favorite beer is Narragansett. Well, why is that? Because I drink it all the time. Well,
okay.
That's cheap enough so you can buy it, right?
Eric, you live up there. You get access to Treehouse.
As far as I understand, now this is getting way off topic from Molson XXX, but I'm glad to mention it. The Treehouse beers, as far as I understand, you have to go to their brewery to buy the beer. Like, they have certain hours where their tap room is open, and then if you go to their website, they tell you we only have these 2 beers and no cans left. So all you can get are these 2 beers in growlers, or if they have cans left, they'll tell you what they're canning or if they're going to have more cans next week. But in general, you can only really get their beers at that brewery.
Yeah. Okay.
So even a more elusive beer than XXX Molson.
I traded for most of their beers the other day, so.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to take a trip out there that way. But this thing is been going on for way too long, and we had a really, really awesome discussion. And the way I like to close out my Massachusetts beer reviews, reviews would be, thank you for joining us on the Massachusetts beer reviews, looking at Molson XXX. Until next time, keep tasting those great beers. Cheers.
Thank you. Good night.
And I have to say, cheers, you guys. And Jay, glad you joined us, because I know you've had this beer, but if you want to try adjunct lager, there you go.
And certainly, I'd like to say 2 things in closing here. I'd like to thank the grand total of 0 live viewers tonight. Thank you for making this possible. And if you would like, and if anybody is watching this, or even if I post it on Facebook, if anybody would like us to try the Molson Ice, let me know in the comments below. See ya.
Can anybody get I got the Colt 45 high gravity. Can anybody get that?
Maybe.
No, unfortunately, I cannot.
I might. I'll have to look for that. But thank you.
I'm good on any Monday night in my student hang, so.
Maybe we'll be back for another Monday edition of the Massachusetts Beer Review discussions. Cheers.